we've made it to episode 8 of House of the Dragon. And I'll admit, towards the middle part of this season, I've kind of got a little bit bored by the house intrigue. But now I'm kind of getting back into it. I'm like, this is actually getting to be pretty entertaining again. And it's all because of the kids. And it was the kids that I kind of lost interest in it to a certain extent. But now that they're a little bit older and they're able to really play a big role in this Dance of the Dragons, it's actually got really interesting again. I'm really looking forward to seeing what the next episode is going to actually lead to. Sadly, it looks like this will be the last one we will see of Viserys. Patty Considine, what can you say about that guy? Like, he is an amazing actor who played an amazing role as Viserys, a character I never thought I would be that interested in seeing. But he played an interesting role. He is by far probably my favorite character out of this entire show. So it's going to be sad to see him go, but I understand, hey, the story's got to move on, and he can't be a part of it for what is to transpire next to actually take place. But let's go ahead and get into episode 8. Um, as far as the whole Rhaenys and Vaemon Valerian thing, you got Corlys hurt, and it looks like he's not going to recover. And then you've got this thing about Vaemon telling Rhaenys, hey, we can't have, really this kid that isn't a Valerian take over. We can't have Lucerys take over as really the king of Driftmark. And my thought is, does he actually have a point? Because you got to look at it from Vaemon's perspective. This is his bloodline. This is his bloodline. This is something like the Targaryens have their dragons and the Valerians have their ships. And then you look at this boy that doesn't share that bloodline taking over. And it's kind of make you wonder, hey, this really the rightful heir? Is this the person that deserves to be in charge? Now, I feel like you could have added the exact same thing when it come to the Targaryens during this series, but I really kind of understand Vaemon's position on it. Although, I don't understand why Rhaenys can't take over, and then when Rhaenys dies, you've got, Baela or Rhaena or one of them that takes over, which actually does have, that Valerian blood in them. That would make more sense. That would truly make more sense. But then you find out later on that they might actually be betrothed to Luke and Jacaerys. And then you would have Targaryens in charge of Valerian Driftmark. So how would a Valerian feel about that? Probably not too good. It would be the end of their bloodline. It would be the end of their rule. It would just be Targaryens just taking over another aspect of something that really didn't belong to them. So, to a certain extent, while I feel like he went at it the wrong way, I truly understand where Vaemon is coming from. Now, as far as Rhaenys is concerned, I think she has the best claim. She's Corlys' wife. Whenever she died, like I said, Baela or Rhaena could take over, and then you would still have that. Now, of course, it's not a male heir, but it is still somebody that shares that Valerian blood that could then pass it on to their children. So there is that. So at the end of the day, I kind of feel like Rhaenys has the best claim to that throne. Although I understand Vaemon, it's almost kind of like what Daemon had to deal with, with Viserys, He actually had, him being the male heir, he actually could keep the Targaryen name going, where unfortunately she would be unable to. So I don't know. I kind of feel like I feel like if I had to choose though, I would have picked Rhaenys in that position. I don't think she should be thought over twice. First for Targaryen Queen, and then as over Westeros, and then of course over Driftmark. I don't think she should be screwed over two times in a row. Now, as far as Vaemon is concerned, I understand that he was really upset, but how stupid of a person do you really have to be? What did he think was going to happen when he goes up there and he calls the king's grandsons bastards? Like, what did he think was going to happen? Did he really think he was going to live? They all knew the rules. Corlys knew the rules. He might have been angry, but the idea to have gone so far, you know what? He kind of got what he deserved in that, because the rules are the rules. Like I said, everybody knows it, but I think the king made it pretty clear a few episodes back that if anybody says this, hey, they're getting their tongues cut out. And unfortunately, he got to keep his tongue, just not his head. So I just kind of feel like that was kind of a really dumb but really cool moment by Vaemon. And I'm glad they included that in this show. Now, as far as Rhaenys is concerned, I think it's really kind of funny that everything is done in front of that weirwood tree. So that then Bran can then witness this and see what all is going on, through that. And I just kind of feel like that's kind of an interesting throwback to Game of Thrones. But as far as Rhaenys is concerned, Rhaenys is there for her. She's there for her. She's there for Baela. She is wanting, it to be hers, not Vaemon's, and not Lucerys. And, it's kind of odd that she decided to take Rhaenyra's proposal of betrothing Luke and Jacaerys to Baela and Rhaena. I think the only reason why she did that is simply because Viserys was up there. If it would have been a Hightower up there, I think she would have continued on with her claim, and she would have never accepted that. But it being Viserys that's up there, she knew that without a doubt he's gonna. He already said it. Very first words come out of his mouth once he sat down on the throne. I thought this was already done and over with. I thought Corlys had already declared, and who he wanted to be his heir, that this business was through. So I think she kind of looked at it was, hey, that's the best choice she had to stay in power and to keep it at least in Valyrian hands. And so, I thought that was a really cool power play by her. Now, you can say what you want to about weddings and family tables, meetings, and where they sit down and eat, but none of them are quite as interesting as House of the Dragon and Game of Thrones dinners. They're the best. They're absolutely the best. Anytime that somebody sits down to eat, there is always a chance of somebody dying, which I think is really kind of cool. That's actually the most dangerous place in Westeros, is the dinner table. And I couldn't help but enjoy Aemon and Aegon's jests. Aegon was kind of of course he's a douche about doing that, what he did. But I almost kind of felt like Aemon kind of had a point at what he did about getting so upset. Because Luke was sitting there laughing about him, remembering when they gave the pig that had wings to him, and as this joke. So he remembered that, and seeing that pig right in front of him made him laugh. Of course, that angered Aemon, and so I kind of felt like Aemon kind of was a little bit justified in saying what he said, even though he's lucky the king didn't hear it. I kind of feel like if you want to really go in that direction, everybody can say everything that they want as long, I guess, as the king isn't there. But no one in that room goes and says, hey, this guy actually said this about this. So I kind of feel like the rules apply only to anybody outside of Viserys' family. Because apparently this whole time, they're still saying what everybody is wanting to say but can't say. So, but I thought him making that jest about the strong boys was just an awesome moment. That was my favorite. That's my favorite moment of all of House of the Dragon, right there. Simply put, and I loved how at the very end of it they get into all the fights, and then Daemon, goes up there to Aemon, and he just kind of like puts his hands in front of him and just kind of looks at him like, go ahead, try something. Just go ahead, just try something. That is the ultimate own moment right there. That is when you really get to see Aemon back down, which is kind of interesting. I kind of almost wish they would have allowed him to kind of like get up in his uncle's face a little bit. But I just thought that was like such a badass moment from Daemon that he goes in there and he handles his business. He lets them know, hey, you get out of line, you got to deal with me at this point, and you don't want to deal with me. So I just thought, great job of Damon in that situation. Um, like I said, Luke did start the fight. Luke did actually start the fight. And you could say Aegon started the fight, with saying the things that he said. I forget if it was Bela or whoever, Raina, about being pleasured. He did kind of make these little jests, but at the end of the day, it was Aemon that actually said the thing that threw it over. But it was Luke that really did actually start it with the whole pig thing. But you know what? I thought the speech that Paddy Considine did as Viserys at the dinner table, that really, I mean, it worked. It actually truly worked. It brought the families together. It brought Allison and Rhaenyra together. It really did, and I was really stunned by that moment. I mean, and it's heartbreaking to think that it was undone by the same man that that really did this miracle of bringing these families together, and he did it because he accidentally mistaken his Alicent for Rhaenyra, and she had asked about the Song of Ice and Fire, and he said, well, hey, Aegon's going to be the one that's going to unite it. Alicent actually believed that she was talking about their son, didn't realize he was talking about Aegon the Conqueror. And so that changed everything. That one little lucid moment changed the history of Westeros and the history of those families, which is just tragic as a whole in general. But it was just, I don't know, they could not, the showrunners could not have done that any better than what they did in that moment by making those words the ones that set this off. Because we all know about Otto Hightower. We all, go on any kind of fan sites. Everybody's like, Alicent, she's a traitor. She's going against the king's words. Actually, she didn't go against the king's words. Actually, it was Viserys that said, for Aegon would be the uniter. So Alice is just going by what the king says, which is just, I don't know, it's just an interesting way to continue this push towards war. It really is, because they were so close to peace. Everything looked handled, done and over with. It looked like Alicent and Rhaenyra were going to be friends again. And then, boom, the one person that you would never expect to start anything was the one that started the whole thing. I mean, all his calls for peace during life ended with his deathbed confession of just this lucid dreaming that he had of just misunderstanding who he's talking to. Like, it was just crazy and it's sad, but it's brilliant all at the same time. I love this episode. I can't really find a single bad thing about this episode. I would give this a 10 out of 10. Hands down, a 10 out of 10. This is what television should be. This is exactly what television should be. This is what I hoped in my wildest dreams. This is what I hoped this show would be. and it hasn't disappointed, at least not in this episode. So, hands down to the creators of it, hands down to George R. R. Martin, the actors, the actresses who play in this. This was a great episode. Absolutely great episode. Brilliant. Anyways, guys, let me know what y'all think. This is going to be our little Rants or Us episode 8 review. Let me know if y'all want to hear any more reviews. If y'all wanted me to do an extra review on the next one. I missed the last one, but because I was kind of out, I didn't really have time to do this. But let me know if y'all are wanting another review out of this. As always, guys, thank y'all so much for watching, and y'all take care.